Good evening, happy Friday, everyone. It's time for Friday night football, counting down to the weekend that will be. So, this is the weekend that will see Zambia take on Eswatini. 1-0 lead from the first round, and the MTN Fast Super League action is back at our various localities. But let's start with the Juglaven, shall we? So, Zambia is leading by a goal to nil, thanks to an Amit Chamende strike in the 77th minute when Zambia traveled to Eswatini. Swatini are in the capital city of Zambia, Lusaka, for the purpose of concluding the two-legged tie. And Kostadin Papic says they will come to play. It's a big hitting game. Joining me for tonight's presentation of Zambia's Premier Analysis Preview Show is Franklin Malambo. Franklin, welcome to the show. That game tomorrow, Eswatini versus Zambia. Okay. Adrian Chama is already saying 1-0 not enough. You tend to feel that there's a plan to get goals from a Zambian perspective, and Eswatini's trip to Lusaka will not be successful if they don't manage to hit the back of the net.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here. Yes, first things first, there's never been a better result than getting a win away in a two-legged tie. Yes, true to what Adrian is saying, one goal might not really be enough, especially that what we saw in the first leg is that Eswatini played a very good game. They created quite a lot of chances. The same might happen here, and so to be sure and to be much safer, it's always going to be important for Zambia to get the goals going. However, Eswatini have nothing to lose, and because they have nothing to lose, they will definitely bring the game to Zambia, which makes it a very intense game, I think.
Open game, and probably the opening stage is super important as to how they size each other up. And yes, in the first leg, Eswatini actually attacked Zambia, and they'll definitely feel they can do the same here in Lusaka, but they'll have the crowd to deal with as well. How important is it in terms of the psyche and the dynamic of this game?
Very important. The fact is, Eswatini are going to be playing away. The fans could be a factor, but then, as you put it, the psyche has to be right for them if they're going to get the result, because they're going to have a lot of factors against them. Already going into the game, there's already one factor against them, which is the goal. Already going into the game, psychologically, they might not be at their best, already realizing that this is a side that has already beat them away from home. And so they have to get it right. From the Zambian perspective, the fans could be a very important factor in this game. We've seen in the games that have passed, there are times when the fans will get on the back of the team, especially when it doesn't seem to be going right with the way the match is moving. However, it's important that the players are in the right state of mind to begin with. And like you say, the early moments in the game are always going to define a match to a greater deal, because the longer you take to settle in a match, and that's where problems will begin to come from. The earlier you do it, the better. So as the teams try to size up, we all know there are always those opportunities that are going to come. And so if a team will use those early opportunities, they might use them to build on and go ahead and win the match. But all things considered, the early moments are always going to be key, and we hope that from a Zambian perspective, we are going to get it right. And get it right.
Yeah, well, but right there, of course, we want to win. We want to qualify for CHAN 2020. But the multi-million-dollar question is, in terms of the rebuild that Agrichang is doing, what do you think are the tactical objectives that we must be able to get right tomorrow, regardless of the result? Of course, the result is something that we want to go in our favor. But what are the other salient issues that we must get right tomorrow, regardless?
Yes, already from the two friendlies that were played just the past weekend, a few things were noted. For example, inability to hold on to leads, which brought in question our tactical discipline, especially on the defensive side, the moment that we go ahead. I think that is one issue that still needs to be addressed. It has been an ongoing issue for this Zambian side. Remember, yes, they've not yet lost under Agrichang, but they've still conceded a number of goals, which shouldn't really be happening. So that is one issue that I think needs to be sorted out. The other issue that may need to be sorted out as well is we haven't had a tactical variation. I think for this period we've usually played in one way. Basically, we've tried to go in the wings. We haven't seen much of combination play, especially in the midfield. We haven't seen the midfield being used fully. That is the central part of the field. And so I think that is one other issue that we might need to look at, especially that when we go into the the next stage or the tournament proper, and also the African Cup of Nations qualifiers, if teams know how we are playing now, if they close that, what are the alternatives that we are going to be using? So it's important that even from this game we try and see tactical variations from that end. The other thing that we may want to adjust on is to see really how we are going to handle the game as a whole. When we get into the lead, how we're able to play. When we are trying to manage the game, do we have some dark arts that can be used, especially when they go and get stuff like, how are we going to grind the result? How are we going to wear down the clock, especially if we have a team that throws the kitchen sink at us? So I think those are a few things that I think still needs to be worked on, and if we can get a glimpse of how we can sort out those in tomorrow's match, then even better for us.
Yeah, because the multi-million-dollar question is that after this one, we have a little trip to Blida and Algeria. And I saw them against Colombia, and they were playing a team that was playing a low block. That is reminiscent of what Agri Chianga has actually perfected in doing, getting Zambia to play a nice low block where everybody is in front of the ball. But we saw how the Algerians were able to dissect and open up teams like that. And again, the question, how do we play on transition? Do we begin to demand to see indicators starting tomorrow? I know we'll have the full complement of foreign-based players in the next game, but do we begin to see that philosophy seemingly trickling in starting tomorrow? This is probably the last international game before the window reopens for AFCON qualifiers proper.
Ideally, that's what we would want to see. However, in the coach's defense might be what you tell us, that they are two different opponents, but then they should always be an eye on the next game in a way or the other, especially that is a bigger one. And so yes, we may need to see an indication of that. And truth be told, Eswatini also play a lot of attacking football. Actually, Eswatini also try to break down the low block.
Well, we've seen Bavane Swallows,
yes,
in continental club competition. So they're not really slouches here, and they really attacked us. They don't fear us that much, and like Botswana did, if they come, get an early opportunity and get a goal, they will fancy themselves.
Definitely they will. Like we mentioned earlier, it's going to be important that we try and close down in the early stages as we try to size them up, because if we do not do that, they might expose us. So going forward, even in the later stages of the game, as the game will be progressing, it's important that we keep our house in order. It's important that we seal off the key areas where we might be exposed. And so going back to your earlier question, it's important that even in tomorrow's match, we try and see, or we see a mirror of what could actually happen against Algeria. Like you right to put it, there's no other break coming in between. The next game we're going to play will be Algeria. The team is only going to be in camp, probably train 2 or 3 days before that match. And so what we'll see tomorrow should be an indication from the coach as to how we're going to approach that game. Like you said, Algeria found a different way. They found how to use the individual brilliance. They found how to get the combinations right with the give and goes, the quick combinations, and that's what opened up Colombia. So are we able to resist that when Algeria come? Tomorrow might give us an early indication.
So what is the substantive target? Have to qualify for CHAN, or we can use it as a dress rehearsal to further sharpen our tools ahead of what seems to be the proverbial important qualifiers in the Africa Cup of Nations. It's because a crucial window, just a couple of days, Desert Foxes, then the Warriors of Zimbabwe provide opposition for Zambia.
We could actually...
Massive 6 points.
Massive 6 points. We could kill two birds with one stone. Let's qualify for CHAN, but let's also ensure that we get our house in order for the other games. It's a pity that in tomorrow's match we'll not have the full complement of what will be there against Algeria and against Zimbabwe. But we'll still see, because it's most like the tactical setup might be the same. So regardless of the players that are going to be involved, we'll still see how the coach will approach those matches from how he's going to do to tomorrow against Eswatini. So all things considered, I think we can still target both. Let's target the CHAN qualification, and let's see how we're going to get right against Algeria from how we're going to set up tomorrow.
Okay, now talking about one tactical variation that Agre Chiangi has managed to actually pencil down as Polo Polo coach is actually to play a certain way in terms of the wingers and the players he deploys in those positions. The question is, does he play with traditional wingers, or he can play with the silky players like Bruce Msakanya who can cut in and the like who've got the affinity for that, or should we play chalk line? Because in terms of tactical variety, yes, that has been something different that we do. We began the game against Botswana in the previous round with traditional wingers and ended it with, inverted wingers, those who would cut in and try to play in the central areas. Um, we need more than that.
We probably do, especially that is the only avenue that we have used this far. I do not really see Coach Agre Chiangi changing that tactic much. He might actually go for the pure wingers, the direct wingers as we want to call them, chiefly because I think with the way that he sets up his team, I think he's always going to have an issue with playing inverted wingers from the start because of the fact that they have to cut in. And then when they cut in, there's always that space, like we may have noted, the space that they vacate, and that's what the opposition could use. And so that is why he goes with the what we'd call the pure wingers, because they basically go up and down the same line, up and down the same line. But then if he has to change and go with the inverted wingers, then the inverted wingers that he's going to use in this case should be sharp enough, especially on the negative transition, the moment that we just lose the ball, to go and seal off the right areas. I think we may still not need much. A combination of both would be good, actually, because the opposition know what to expect from us, so we might surprise them with a combination of both.
All right, so, that will be the game tomorrow at the Heroes National Stadium. Kickoff is 1500 hours, so for everybody that will be in Lusaka, that is the game to actually see. Zambia versus Eswatini. Zambia leading 1-0 from there. Let's see how we go. Let's turn our attention to what will be happening in central Zambia and the Godfrey Yuka Chitalu Stadium. Nkana will be the visitors to Odd Falls Cabo Warriors. So it will be a battle of red versus blue. Now, this game, and there's this rumor, and I don't know whether it's important to discuss it. A bit of a rumor going around that Nkana could be considering options in terms of the future of the technical bench vis-a-vis Beston Chambeshi. What do you make of that talk?
It's big talk, actually. It's big talk. First things first, it's never the best place to be in as a player, to be in such a case. It's never the best case to be in as a coach. It's never been the best place to be in as a supporter when you hear such rumors, especially with such a big game approaching, especially that this team has not won in their last two, especially that this team is struggling for form at the moment, considering the way they started and where they are. So such talk is never really healthy for them. We'll see how it pans out, but never really the best position to be in.
There's a little bit that's suggesting that Nkana, in the name of patriotism, I've got no problem with giving Beston Chambeshi to the under-23 for, a generous period of time.
It's a strange one. If you're going to have sacrifice your head coach for a period of 7 weeks, that's a long time. It could be in the name of patriotism.
That's quarter of a season, eh?
Yes, and if that's 7 weeks. That's about 7-8 fixtures. It's a strange one, and they could be saying it's in the name of patriotism, but there could be more to that, really. I expected at this stage them to be engaged probably with FARs. You expect the fact that if the head coach was so important to them, you would have expected they may be trying to hold on to him a little bit, considering that that's a larger chunk of a season. Like I say, it's a quarter of a season. And so if they're going to be willing, and have already made the statement now that they're willing to release him for that long a period, there could be more questions than answers then, I think.
Something brewing?
Possibly, yes. But let's see where it goes.
Let's talk about Tenan Chilumba. He hasn't had the greatest of starts to this season. And yes, he would like to win, especially, I guess, in kind of the bragging rights. Will be very high. He knows it, having won the blue and white of Cabo Warriors, how important it is. But even in the context of the 2019-2020 season, Cabo Warriors probably need to get off the mark. And perhaps the best time to play this Nkana team.
Yes, Warriors have to get off the mark. Looking at the heights that they hit last season, it's unfortunate to see them where they are. They made a lot of investments in the off season, both in the boardroom and on the playing side of things in terms of player recruitment. They need to get it going. They are going to be playing in front of their home fans. They need the points. They are sitting in the bottom half of the table, which should not be happening considering the kind of team that they are. Tenan Chilumba had a good season last time out, and then it would be interesting to see how Warriors will react to this, considering that Tenan Chilumba is also supposed to be part of the under 23 technical bench. We have not yet seen a statement from Warriors. We don't know how they are going to go about it. So it's an interesting one. It's
a lot of things hinging on a lot of things, and Quicksilver and Tenant haven't had the greatest of starts. So that one is at 1500 hours tomorrow at the Godfrey Yuka Chitalo Stadium in Kabwe. Let's see how that one goes. Let's turn our attention to what will be happening when Kansanshi Dynamos will be hosting Lusaka Dynamos. Long trip for Lusaka Dynamos to the northwestern part of this country. And again, Lusaka Dynamos, need to be very careful with the Dynamos from Kansanshi, to say the least. It hasn't been easy for anybody who has traveled there.
No, it hasn't been. This week, Kansanshi Dynamos actually have extra motivation. It's the first time that they're going to be playing in front of their home fans. Remember, the first two games that they played there, the crowd wasn't allowed to get in. And so Kansanshi have been very good this season. They have averaged 2 points per game. They have 10 points from 5 matches. They've only lost one match. And even the match which they lost, they accounted for themselves very, very well, actually. For a team that has just made the step up to the Super League for the first time, I think they probably even themselves might not believe how good they have been this season. They've been very compact at the back. They've been very composed in the midfield, and they've continued to create chances just the same way that they did in the lower tier last time around. Lusaka Dynamos on their side, they've only won 2 matches so far. They've basically blown hot and cold this season. Yes, last time out they won 3-0 at home against Mufira Wanderers. They will hope that result will help them surge on into this encounter. But all things considered, it's going to be a very tricky game for them to play away. And knowing how Kansanshi Dynamos have been at home from last season and this season, Lusaka Dynamos should expect a very tough game.
Who gets it? Who are you giving it to?
Considering form, I think I'll give it to the home side. They're always going to be a hard nut to crack at home.
Yeah, probably.
Yep.
And that'll be something extra for Ian Bakala to think about.
Yes.
And the rank and file at Lusaka Dynamos. Yep. Okay, let's turn our attention to what will be happening at the Shinde Stadium, shall we? So Red Arrows will be the 5th visitors there. 1500 hours is the kickoff for that one. Again, Shinde Stadium, Elijah Barichkonda is no longer coach of Mighty Mfira Wanderers. Anderson Piri is the man in charge, formerly of Power Dynamos. What is the immediate expectation, especially when you have that coaching change and it's a big top brand like Mighty Mfira Wanderers?
The immediate response that is expected, especially after you appoint a new manager, is that a new coach, you have to win. You expect that someone will come in with fresh ideas. You expect that someone will come in with a whole different approach, or maybe just change a few things that the other person might not have done, and especially that they have to get the motivation right to get the players going. I think that's what Mufira Wanderers will be expecting in this match. They need to get something. They need to get a result. Aside from the match where they won against Nkana, they've really been a shadow of themselves, especially with the big name that the big tag that they carry. Shinde Stadium should be a fortress for them. Unfortunately, it hasn't been this far. Can it be the start for them? Wait and see what will happen in that encounter. On the other side, Red Arrows have been very impressive this season. They are sitting on top of the table. They've been very composed. I think they are keeping it simple but very efficient. They seem to have their identity back in the way that they are playing. And truth be told, I don't see an immediate bounce from Mufira Wanderers from this one.
But big boots, and I'm just thinking, Red Arrows, they've seemingly found a way to play with James Chamanga up top. And they had a pepper patch of form even last season, and they were very unfortunate not to finish in the top echelons of the table. Yep. But I'm now thinking, with a different player, say Joseph Piri, maybe needing to lead the line, do they still have the tactical versatility to play without James Chamanga? Because experienced player, he's able to lead the line, he's able to link up play, and players are able to play into him and out of him. He's been a revelation, but he may not be there for long. That is the reality.
Yes, that is a reality. And by now, they would be hoping that the youngster, Joseph Piri, for example, would have learned something from Chamanga. And so I think Arrows can approach this two ways. They could be playing the way they are, trying to make use of James Chamanga's strengths, especially what you've just noted. He's able to move, he's able to find the channels, he's able to hold up play, bring others into play. Can Joseph Piri do the same? To a certain extent, he can, but not as much as James Chamanga is doing it. And so they'll be hoping that by the time James calls it quits or leaves the club, someone would have learned or someone would have been developed to fill the boots. For now, they can be happy that James is still there. They can try and get most much from him whilst they still can, and try as much as possible to keep the points coming, to keep rising. So far, they look very good.
They look very good. Okay, let's see how that one goes. They do have a potential to create a possible banana skin at the Shinde Stadium. May the best team win. Let's just say that for later. Okay, so from Ndola to Mazabuka, that is the trip that Buildcon have made this weekend. They take on the Sugar Boys, and yeah, for Buildcon, they expect to go to Mazabuka and win.
Yes, they expect to go to Mazabuka and win. They expect, but
Nakambala will say they can't be dropping points at home. That's one thing, that's for sure.
No, they can't be, especially that in their last two games they've collected 4 points. They drew their last game at home, and then they went on to win away at Kaiser. And so what that does to them is it gives them confidence. If they're able to win away, then they should be able to do the same at home. But they face a Buildcon side which hasn't been very convincing this season.
But not quite a Kaiser.
Yes,
it's got more experienced operators.
More experienced operators, different coach, a different approach altogether, and so it's going to be a tricky one for Nakambala. However, what they have in their advantage is that they are going to be playing at home. They know their pitch better. They are going to have the home support. And like I mentioned earlier, they won their match the last time that the league was in play in week 5, and so they are going to be hoping to ride on the same to carry them forward in this game. But Buildcon will provide a different challenge altogether as compared to what Kaiser provided. I think Buildcon are going to be more tactically organized. I think they are going to be difficult to break down, and they might just offer too much to deal with on the defensive side for Nakambala. So a very interesting game that we have to look forward to as well.
All right, so Lumwana Radiants take on Kaiser. For Kaiser, we've got a consultant, formerly of Buildcon. His name is Tenan Chembo. Yeah, little nice examination, traveling to the Northwest. Young team, but yeah, hugely experienced consultant. What do we expect from the consultant from this game tomorrow and going forward?
I think they would have brought him in to, especially that he's experienced. He was assistant coach at Zesco for a long time at Buildcon, and even led Zesco at some point, led Buildcon at some point, and so they will expect that the experience that would have gathered from that will be able to rub onto this Kaiser side and make them a better team. Especially that I think their primary target this season will be staying up. So what they'll be expecting from the consultant is to help them to stay up and give them even a better identity than they might have had up to this point. On the other side, Lumwana Radiants themselves have had a poor campaign. They've only got 1 point. These sides between them only have 3 points. Lumwana only have 1 point. They have not won any match. They've hardly scored. They've really been disappointing so far. But in the past seasons where they have survived the drop, they've really made use of the home ground advantage. And so they will be hoping that beginning this weekend, they try and get one over this Kaiser team. But all things considered on paper and the way these teams have played, they appear to be in the same bracket. So it will be a 6-pointer in more ways.
All right, so talking about one important game that will be played in Kute and at the Water Davis Stadium, Power Dynamos await the visit of Kwazi Football Club. Now, Kwazi have got this making attitude of, looking teams, big teams in the eye and, creating a big contest. That's what Chris Kaunda's men will probably try to do as they take on Gaston Mutovo's men. again, Gaston Mutobo was saying, too early to judge me. But when will we be prudently correct to begin to judge him? Is it tomorrow?
In fact, we should have. It's never too early to judge a coach, because when you take up a job, you are willing to go the lengths to begin to get the results.
But when you consider the instability, quote unquote instability, in the last 18 months, Fortson Kabole, George Chilufya, and now Gaston Mutobo have sat in the hot seat at the Arthur Davis Stadium.
With a man of his experience, I still think we should begin to judge him now. The wealth of experience that he has, remember, he has won the Zambian League before. He's been at Power before, and we understand that Power got him because so much because of the experience that he has and the fact that he's worked there before. So because of that, we're going to be expecting an immediate impact from him. It didn't happen last time out, but then they'll be hoping that it happens this time. Unfortunately for them, they're playing in Kwazi side, which is very plucky actually, very well set up, especially on the defensive side. Tactically, most players are aware at Nkwazi, they know what is required of them. A lot of experienced campaigners in that team, and so Power Dynamos have a very big game, and it's not going to be easy.
But without Larry Walian, they've tried to play 4-4-2 because he's in camp with the Chance squad that will be playing tomorrow, and they've been playing 4-4-2 and playing Larry on the right, and then it hasn't worked. The question is, do they have now a clear mind to actually play the 4-4-2, or this is the part where they actually change formation with or without Larry? Is that, well, the tactics have not been supportive to Power Dynamos to actually do well?
Yes, at times coaches will play in a certain way to try and have certain players play whom they think are going to have an impact on the game. And so maybe this weekend gives them, with the absence of Larry, with the absence of Benson, maybe it gives them an opportunity to try and play differently. But then, has it only been the tactical side that has failed Power Dynamos? I don't really think so. I think to a greater extent, even the quality that they have is not really as good as it should be.
But let's assist. I've brought in Joseph Msonda, we understand. But let's just look at the right-hand side of where they want to play. And where you give Larry Walia a free roll, and then you've got Mateo Ndashe. Now, you are invariably asking, because Larry is going to cut in, you're invariably asking Mateo Ndashe to play on the line and provide width when they are defending and when they are attacking. And it's not something that I have really seen Mateo Ndashe do, and therefore it begs the question, with Joseph Msonda being brought in, are they trying to sort out that problem right there?
Could be that they're trying to play that way, but then let's also consider they only brought in Mateo Ndashe not too long ago, so they will be questioning how they arrived at bringing him in, and then they are going to bring a replacement immediately. In a way, if they are going to keep playing Larry, for example, on the right, then it could be what they are trying to sort out, especially that Joseph Msonda will always go up and down on the flank.
But
so
at
that
42,
but at 42, yes, at 42,
as a wing back,
I don't think he has much in his tank to keep going up and down for the length of the season.
Where does he play? It's because if you look at the central defensive options, and if you want someone with you, one of the younger lads, maybe Jimmy Zingai,
yeah,
you'd say, okay, may do a better job in terms of being durable up and down the side than Joseph Udo. Where do you think Gaston Tobo needs Joseph Udo? Center back or as a fullback?
I think he needs him more maybe in the dressing room, considering that the lads there are not as much as experienced as he is. He might have a lot more impact in there, because even if you want to say he plays as a right back, for one that has much fuel and much energy to go up and down, they have the youngster like Kondwani Chiboni, who I think played well the season before last, going up and down the flank. So if they were looking for fuel, they would be looking at to use that youngster. On the pitch, Joseph Msonda, what he would provide is leadership, regardless of where they play him, either as a centre back or as a wing back or right back, left back, whatever it might be. He might bring a bit of leadership, communication maybe better on the pitch. But all things considered, I really don't think they needed him. But they saw it fit to bring him in. Let's see how they're going to make use of him.
Amban stays where it is.
I think so.
Captain Larry.
I think so. Let's keep breeding the youngsters for leadership.
All right. So, very quickly, let's look at Zesco United. They'll be taking on Green Buffalo Sunday. 13 hours. That will be at Sunset Stadium. Yeah. Former employers for George Luandamina, but it's been a while. So, I'm sure the nostalgia is gone. But where does this one go?
Zesco United.
Let's look at Zanaco Forest Rangers. 15 hours at the same venue.
Tricky one. Zanaco have blown cold and hot at times. Forest are in form. I think it's going to be a draw.
Zanaco take on Forest Rangers.
Draw.
Draw.
Yep.
Thank you. That's all we could package on Zambia's premier analysis show. Friday Night Football will make a return next Friday at the very same time. Join us on Monday as we bring your Soccer Chat Match Pack. And, of course, Sunday is time for football, my life at 8:30. Till then, good night.